Hockey games should last 40 minutes tops, at least if you're the Nashville Predators and you really want to get a win.
You're Locked On Predators, your daily podcast on the Nashville Predators, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to the Locked On Predators podcast. Thanks so much, everyone, for making us your first listen of the day. We are, of course, your free daily Nashville Predators podcast. We are a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Want to kick off our Friday episode, shouting out our Locked On Predators insiders and our everydayers who have slogged through another Nashville Predators week with us. We appreciate your support. We love talking Nashville Predators hockey with you. I'm Ann Kimmel. I am a writer and co-host with Penalty Box Radio. And my friends, I have a couple of partners in crime.
You do. I am Emma Lingen, Nashville Predators site editor and reporter for the Hockey News. And this, of course, making a special Friday appearance is our upper management here at the Locked On Predators podcast, Miss Minka.
Yes, and Miss Minka has joined us because in the pre-record conversations, Emma and I may have dropped some non-FCC compliant descriptors about the Nashville Predators' loss last night to the Dallas Stars. And friends, we are going to try to get it together for Minka's sake and recap this game on today's episode. We're going to share our one word to describe the loss. We are going to talk about a fascinating little stat about the Nashville Predators this year. We're going to talk about interesting line combinations. And friends, we are going to preview Sunday night's game. The Viscount returns. We're looking forward to that. Before we dive into all of that on today's episode, I do want to let you know that this episode's brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $200 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Oh, Emma, we were young and full of hope. And then we started covering the Nashville Predators 2024-25 season. Nashville, of course, headed to Dallas to take on the red-hot Dallas Stars, one of the hottest teams in the league, not the hottest team in the league. What's going on over there in St. Louis? And it was one of those games where you just for a moment thought maybe, and then you were smacked with reality. The final score, of course, 5-1. 5-1, friends. The Nashville Predators lost to the Dallas Stars. So all of our tanking friends, you're welcome. But we're going to get into specifics of the game. We're going to get into some interesting stats about this game and kind of break down one of the big issues that we saw. But before we do that, we like to recap with one word to describe the game. Do you want to kick us off? And remember, Minka is listening.
I know she is. She's still here. You can't see her on the screen anymore, but she's lurking.
Oh, she's listening.
She is listening, yes. So I will keep it clean. I will say my one word is one word, and that is margaritas, because you know why, but I need to explain. Because I, from my days working for the team, have made friends who work for other teams in the NHL. So, every once in a while when the Predators will face one of said teams where I have friends in the front office or on the staff, we'll place a little friendly wager on the game. And normally, under normal circumstances, aka not this season, I would bet, in favor of the Predators. And I'm not talking money here. I'm talking fun things like drinks, meals, whatever. I would normally bet in favor of the Predators. This year, I know better than to do that. And after the first period of this game against Dallas, one of my friends in the Dallas organization said, "We're not playing well right now. Dallas isn't playing well right now. Like, I think that Nashville might win this." And I said, "Oh, no. Just wait. They'll blow it. They will blow it." And so we had a deal that my friend owes me a margarita when they come to Nashville in a couple weeks because they blew it. Nashville blew it. So I won me a margarita. I was like, I know how to work the system now. And I am looking forward to that margarita. It's going to be a big one because that's what this season has done to me. It has driven me straight to the arms of tequila, because nothing else can make this pain go away. And I said, you know what? I've seen this so many times before. First of all, when Steven Stamkos scored at the beginning of the second period, we've talked about this before. That's
Absolutely.
our one. That's the
one.
only goal we get.
Yep.
We can't get greedy. We've reached the quota. That's it. And I said, they will not score again after this. And that's when the margarita bet was formed. I was like, they will not score again. And I was right.
Look at that.
So, look at that.
5-1. I told Emma, start researching what restaurant serves the biggest margarita, because you don't just deserve any old margarita, Emma. You deserve the biggest.
I did not specify what kind of receptacle the margarita would be in, so it might be a pitcher.
I think it should be. I think it should be. This is so clearly how this needs to play out. And that margarita pitcher should be bought with a smile. You're welcome, Dallas.
Yes.
You're welcome. Oh,
that's the other thing. I'm like, let's read the room here a little bit, because saying that, oh, Dallas, we look terrible. You look terrible for one period. I have no sympathy for you.
None.
Absolutely none.
Yeah. My one word, and I'm just recycling back to something, but adding a chapter to the story. My one word again is Wild Delight Sizzle and Heat. We talked about this previously on a show. If you missed it, I've got a bird feeder. I got a squirrel in the bird feeder. I bought Wild Delight Sizzle and Heat. It's spicy bird food. Ended up getting some of it on my skin. That was a whole thing. It's better now. Fed the birds yesterday. I sent Emma a picture, like I had my whole hand covered in a towel. And what I had done is I had mixed half and half sizzle and heat, half fancy schmancy bird food. Friends, the squirrel in my bird feeder yesterday. So I'm going to have to go 100% sizzle and heat bird food. And that's dangerous and a little bit scary for me. But look, this is just where we're at. And this is where the Nashville Predators are at. Look, you got to go 100% sizzle and heat. Like none of this half and half, because we saw a little bit of potential, just what really wasn't potential, but what could have masqueraded as potential in the first period with the Nashville Predators. And then the squirrel of hockey was back. The Nashville Predators squirrel in the bird feeder was back. They ended up giving up 4 goals? Yeah, 4 goals in the third period. This is why Nashville needs shorter games, you all. Less time to make mistakes. Yeah, it was rough. Of course, we always reach out to our Locked On Predators insiders for their one word. And I have to tell you, Emma, and you might want to cover Minka's ears, consistent theme, poop. A consistent theme with our one word. Dustin's one word for the night is white dog poop, because this team plays like they are old and stinky. They look slow, confused, and unorganized. At least it is almost over. Gayton's one word is merely poop. Music City Hockey now has the aromatic fragrance of music that can only be created by the eating of beans. It's so true. It's so true. Oh my gosh. I do have to laugh. Here's a little horrible story, actually, but it was funny at the time. You know, Dustin mentioned white dog poop. You know how dog poop gets white. When I was growing up, our bus stop was at the Ransom boys' house, and we were the only girls in the neighborhood. A lot of boys, and boys are gross at school age. Boys are gross, and
at most ages, boys are gross. But yes,
you're not wrong. You are not wrong. You can only train so much out of them. But one of the Ransom boys dared, I think it was Lyle Pittner, to eat what he said was a dropped powdered donut. Lyle Pittner did not do that. He didn't do it. He didn't bite, but he had him almost convinced. Now, I will tell you this. One morning, they did tell Lyle Pittner to pee on the electric fence that kept their cow in, and Lyle Pittner did. And Lyle Pittner didn't go to school that day, y'all. So anytime anybody...
that, look whose attention that got.
Like, I'm sorry, what? Minka is back like, who is telling these stories? You all, it was never, I learned more about life, and we'll just say life in quotes, at the bus stop than I did from any book anybody could read. But yeah, anytime people talk about white dog poop, I think of like Lyle Pittner and the things that befell him at the bus stop growing up.
I need there to be a reality show about where you grew up, specifically about
Oh.
that bus stop, actually.
Yes. Oh my gosh, the stories I could tell that Minka would put the kibosh on. Yeah. Another one word, changing the subject before we get flagged. Corey's one word said, in the style of Monty Python, one shall be the number of the goals, and the number of the goals shall be one. 2 goals thou shalt not score. 3 goals is right out. Nashville. You all, we did not think goal scoring was going to be the biggest issue, and yet here we are. Coming up, we're going to break down what we saw in Dallas, including an interesting stat that revolves around 12 minutes in a hockey game. And we're going to talk about some interesting lineup choices as well. We're going to discuss all that coming up. It's Friday, friends, and if this week has taken it out of you, don't fret. 5 Hour Energy has got your back. If you've got big weekend plans, whether it is watching sports or you want to squeeze in a round of golf around this weather, or if you are just going to try to keep up with your busy schedule, 5 Hour Energy is going to give you that quick, refreshing pick-me-up whenever you need it. Head to 5hourenergy.com and you're going to find over 15 flavors to choose from, including watermelon, blue raspberry, and a delicious peach mango. You can even build your own 12-pack or 24-pack, and they can deliver it right to your door. If you need one right now, don't worry, you can grab a 5 Hour Energy shot at your local grocery or convenience store. They are everywhere. Stock up today and stay energized. Emma, we are back recapping another Nashville Predators loss. And at the top of the show, I said, wouldn't it be so great if Nashville could just play 40 minutes of hockey? Because yet again, a game got away from this team in the third period. The first period, you might have just thought for a minute, you might have had that moment. If you were a Hoctimist, if you had an ounce of Hoctimism left in you, you might have thought, look, Nashville can hang with one of the hottest teams in the league. But really what happened, friends, is that Dallas didn't play well in the first period, and Nashville was able to hang with them. Here is where it went off the rails, Emma. And you and I texted about this in real time, friends. Emma and I texted about this in real time. Nashville was up 1-0. We got that one goal. Steven Stamkos gave us our one goal, friends. But then what happened at the end of the first period with just 36 seconds left to play in the period? Dallas was pushing, and former Predator Mikael Granlund scored a goal with an assist from former Predator, currently 4th highest paid player by the Nashville Predators on the ice last night. Matt Duchene had the primary assist on that. So with less than a minute to go, Mikael Granlund ties it up. And Emma, what did I text you? What did I text you?
You said this will be the nail in the coffin. They will not come back from this.
They will not come back from this. Now, the game came back, second period, but then the third period, Nashville gave up a goal about 39 seconds into the third period. Here is a stat that, look, we've been very clear. Emma and I, math, whatever, like not our favorite thing. But I literally combed through numbers for this because I'm like, is it just me? Does it just feel like this, or is it a fact? Nashville gives up goals in the first 2 or last 2 minutes of periods. And when they do, it goes off the rails. So I just was like, how many goals? Like, does it just feel like that? So I went through all of the games the Predators have played so far this season. Emma, the Nashville Predators have given up 42 goals, either in the first 2 or last 2 minutes of a period. That does not include 18 empty net goals. I discluded empty net goals. I just discluded them. But if you put empty net goals and just the goals in the first 2, last 2 minutes of the period, 31.4% of the goals that have been scored against the Nashville Predators were scored in those 12 minutes, those critical 12 minutes. First 2 minutes of a period, last 2 minutes of a period. Critical minutes in a game. Yes, every goal counts for the same amount, no matter when it's scored, but there is something to this. In contrast, Nashville only scored 26 goals in the first 2 or last 2 minutes of a game, excludes 16 empty net goals. Nashville is giving up goals in critical moments of games and not scoring goals in critical moments of the games. And here's the thing, it matters. You may say, well, in Dallas, they scored in the last minute of the first period, but they didn't score again until the first minute of the third period. Yes, but who dominated play in the second period? Who dominated things like puck possession, quality chances in the second period? That was all Dallas, friends. Giving up goals in the first 2 minutes of the period and the last 2 minutes of the period is deadly to the Nashville Predators. And they don't turn that around and do it themselves as well. Maddening to me, Emma. It's such a momentum thing. It is such a momentum thing.
Yeah, it is. And I think that that is what separates good teams from bad teams. Again, we've said this before. It's not talent. It's not like there's no talent on this Predators roster. It is the fact that they are not able, first of all, they're not opportunistic. They don't seize momentum when it goes their way.
Mm-hmm.
And when it goes away from them, they just can't catch up. They're chasing the entire time. And I think that obviously we saw it against Columbus the other night. We saw it against Dallas. And we talked about this too, that the first period of the game against Dallas, like Nashville had I think led 17-5 in shots.
Mm-hmm.
That, they looked good. I mean, the score was still 0-0, but it looked like Nashville was the better team. That's what led to the whole margarita conversation. But I think that I said, no, I've seen this. I've seen this movie before. I know how it ends. And I think, what you said, which I think is true, is like, no, this is not Nashville looking good. It was that Dallas looked bad. Dallas looked bad in the first period, but the difference is Dallas woke up. They woke up after that first period and they started swinging. You can't just sit and wait for the momentum to come your way. You have to move it in that direction. And so I think that that is what we've seen from Nashville, is like they just sit back and they wait. And when you do that, you end up chasing the game. And that manifests in a lot of ways, but one of the ways is in how it, we see those momentum shifting moments, either first minute, last minute of a period, where they just, when it happens like that, they just can't recover. And that's why we knew as soon as they gave up the tying goal in the first minute or the last minute of a period, it was like, that's it.
They're done.
That's it. Score wise, if you hadn't watched this team all year and you were just watching for the first time, you would say, oh, it's tied. Like they're fine. They still got 20 minutes. Not this team.
No.
As soon as they let the momentum go in the other direction, it's gone forever.
It's gone. And Nashville had it somewhat in that first period. They kicked it off, as one likes to do, with a 4-minute penalty kill. Michael Bunting, bless your heart. High stick. Got a little blood. I think it was Sam Steele. But anyway, 4-minute penalty kill. And Nashville killed it off against a pretty darn good power play. That is a momentum changer. And I think that carried Nashville. But the minute that Dallas had that consistent pressure towards the end of the period, I looked at my husband and I was like, they're going to score. They're going to score because Nashville they have not consistently had the fortitude to withstand that kind of pressure, especially because they have such a depleted defensive core. but just mentally even. And the moment the pendulum swung, like you said, to Dallas, Nashville is not a team that can swing it back. We have not seen this be a team that can do that. Emma, is that coaching or is that confidence or is it both? Like, what is that?
I feel like it's got to be both, because again, it's not, we've already ruled out talent. It's not a talent thing.
No.
It's, part of it is confidence. You've got this weird mix. We talked about on yesterday's show of how different the roster looks now than it did at the beginning of the year. So it's like you've got a weird mix of guys on this roster now that are, just figuring out how to play together. And it's just such weird circumstances that it's like, I don't know. I think that coaching is part of it because coaching is, somehow you have to pull your team into the fight. And it's not like
Yes.
this momentum thing that we're talking about. It's not like this is a new phenomenon. This has been going on all year
All
since
season.
since before, Nashville was out of a playoff spot. This has been going on all year. And so that to me is what's concerning because I don't know, like I think it's a leadership thing. And some of that, yes, does fall on the leadership from the guys who are on the ice. But again, I just have a hard time looking at the overall career track records of guys like Steven Stamkos and Ryan
Yes.
O'Reilly and
Yes.
Philip Forsberg and
Yes.
saying, you know what? They're the problem. Like, I just don't, I can't do that, just because of one bad year. So that is why I know it might sound like I'm like shifting this, to fit my narrative, but I really do think that it's coaching because I have exhausted any other option. Like if it happens on occasion, like if there's like one or two games where this happens, and you know what, it's a long season, those games are bound to happen.
Sure.
Where you just, they just give up and they don't stay in the fight. That is where I'm willing to put a little bit more of the blame on the players and be like, guys, you screwed the pooch on this. Like, and that it happens, I get it, but like we have been having one of those games all season long, and it's hard for me to blame that on the players at this point.
Yeah, I agree with you. Dallas has had games like this where they let it get out away from them and they couldn't regroup. St. Louis has had that. Washington has had that. Toronto has had games like that this very season. The problem is Nashville consistently has that problem, and you don't see them have games where they work out of that. And I am with you. You look at Steven Stamkos's body of work, Ryan O'Reilly's body of work, Jonathan Marchessault's body of work, Roman Yossi's body of work. These are players who know what it is to be down in a game, down in a playoff series, and battle back. But it's not happening collectively for the team. And that is what makes me go, is it coaching? I don't know. We're going to wrestle with that some more in the offseason. What is the hitch and the giddy up to this team not being able to get momentum and hold on to it for 60 minutes? That's table that for an offseason comment, and probably we'll have pictures of margaritas while we discuss that as well. Coming up, do want to talk about some interesting line shifts. And again, we saw a new face back in the lineup for the Nashville Predators. We'll talk about that. Plus, ladies and gentlemen, this weekend, the Viscount returns. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. March Madness is winding down. FanDuel is still giving you a chance to get in on all the action like never before. Right now, new customers with FanDuel can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. That is 200 extra bucks to use on everything from buzzer beaters to who is ultimately going to cut down those nets. The FanDuel app is simple to use, and And when you win, you're going to get paid instantly. There is no waiting around. So check out all the action at FanDuel. Visit FanDuel.com and get in on all of that last-minute college hoops action. All right, Emma, one thing I do want to point out, we were just talking about like coaching. I do want to say this. I did like a couple of the decisions that were made when it came to the lineup yesterday. Of course, they're dropping like flies in Nashville. Jonathan Marchessault is still day-to-day. Spencer Stastny is now day-to-day. You know how I worry. Colton Sissons is bless your heart. That's just his official status. Bless your heart, Colton Sissons. But I liked what Andrew Brunette did. And look, I'm not a fan of the line blender, but at this point, YOLO. Like, why not? I actually really liked that Zach LaRue was elevated to a top 6 role. He played some of the game with Stamkos and Forsberg. One of my concerns when I watch Zach LaRue is that he is going to be one of those players who is relegated to a role where he is just going to be a grinder. And I'm not saying he's not great at that. He is such an agitator. He is the most pain in the Jehovah little brother on the ice agitator. But he also has an offensive upside that should not be sold short. Now, did we see it in last night's game? Not necessarily, but I did like a couple of things that I saw him do on Stamkos's goal. You had Zach LaRue coming down the slot, open and available for that pass, which everybody, including me, thought Steven Stamkos was going to make because he was looking nowhere near the net. Sneaky little Steven Stamkos. That was like the high point of the game.
Maybe that's their problem all year with goal scoring. Maybe it's because they've been looking at the net too much. Maybe they just need to stop. Like at this point, I mean, close your eyes. Turn around. I don't know.
Let's see what happens. Sure. We also saw the return of one of our favorites here, Ozzy Weisblatt. Look, you all love this kid. I love the way he plays. Literally no fear. Ozzy Weisblatt has no fear. He would laugh in the face of a hungry lion because that's just how he plays. We had a chance on Wednesday night to talk with him on Penalty Box Radio. He joined the show for a little bit. And just, I love his mentality. He just really talks about like, look, I'm not going to be the biggest kid out there, but I am going to be the person who works hardest. I am going to be the person who does the extra things out on the ice to be impactful, Love Ozzy Weisblatt. This is a player I think that's going to get a lot of consideration when it comes to next year's lineup. I know Barry Trotz really likes him. I think Andrew Brunette really likes him. And he's also, we talked about yesterday, he's just an energy guy. And he got some time with Fedor Svechkov and Kiefer Bellows as well. So just some interesting lineup choices at this point. Why not? Sure. But I just didn't want to see Zach LaRue put in a position where they're like, you're our 4th line grinder guy for life. Don't do that. Don't do it to Zach LaRue.
We have enough of those guys.
We really
those
do.
Guys are a dime a dozen.
Yeah. And the ones we have are great. No need to reinvent the wheel when we've got a 2-wheeled cart rolling along lovingly. Hated the game for Justus Onanen. Justus Onanen, I thought, played a really good game until just the wheels fell off the bus. I will say this, Emma. Justus Onanen, friend, compatriot, dear soul. I thought I didn't have to have Tums nearby when we traded Yaroslav Askarov.
Why did I know that's where you were going with this? As soon as he came out of the crease, I was like, oh, Anne's going for the Tums.
Came out of the Now, I will say this. Chef's kiss execution, Justus Onanen. Not only did he get the poke check, but he made sure that he did not commit a penalty. There was no chance it was going to be a trip, and he was back in that net. I thought that was a great play, but that stuff causes me stress, y'all. Just stay in the net. Just stay in the net. I mean, I'm not the coach. You do whatever Ben Vanderklok says, but Lord have mercy. Hate that game for Justus Onanen. I hated that, especially that third period, Emma. Not cool.
Yeah, we had talked about 4 goals in the third period, but it was 5 goals unanswered, including that one from which we knew they would not recover. So just rough.
The Nashville Predators are back in town. They're going to have some practice tomorrow. Sunday, they have a Sunday evening game. I believe it's a 6 p.m. puck drop off the top of my head. I think it's 6 p.m., which I know seems weird, but makes a huge difference. 7
Ugh.
p.m. puck drop, 6 p.m. It's like more than an hour's worth of evening for us. Going to be facing the Montreal Canadiens, who I had to double check myself, Emma. Like, they are still in a wild card spot conversation. And I'm
They
like
are.
looking around like, but we have Steven Stamkos and we've got the E, which I know stands for eliminated, but in my mind, when I see it, it's explicit because that's how I want to describe this season. But the Canadians,
Minka's still lurking.
I know I'm
Can't.
not going to say it, but I'm going to
Yeah.
think it, Minka. Yeah.
Yeah.
But the Canadians decided that maybe this would be a great time to try to get into the postseason. And they are going to do it with one of our favorites, Alexandre Carrier, defenseman Alexandre Carrier, as we cannot seem to forget, you all. Traded to Montreal. In return, the Predators got apparently the apple of the Predators media eye right now, Justin Barron. That's all I'm going to say about that.
The love fest for Justin Barron on the Predators broadcast. I love those guys, but I don't get it. I don't get it. It's like, can we not? And I have a feeling it's going to be even more unbearable on Sunday because they will be playing against Alex Carrier. I'm glad that I will be in attendance for that game and not watching the broadcast because I feel like I would lose my mind. But yes, the Canadiens still in a playoff spot. They have had a really remarkable year. Honestly, good for them. They've got a good young core. They've kind of been rebuilding for a while, and people thought they would have, kind of finished that rebuild by now. But they have managed to stay in the fight. They've got really good goaltending from Sam Montembeault. They've got Lane Hudson, who by the way, like, not a first round pick. And I'm just saying, people, that, sometimes you find some gems not in the first round, but he is, for a defenseman, for a rookie defenseman, one of the most dynamic offensive defensemen that I have ever seen. And like, this guy is going to win Norris trophies, like not this year, maybe not next year, but he's a rookie and he's going to. So I think that they've just got so much depth on that team, and like more than meets the eye. I think that they've had a lot of guys really step up for them this year, to the point where like Patrick Laine was supposed to be their big, addition, and like he's not even the big story for them right now.
No. Yeah, this has been a really interesting team to watch. And this is one of those ones where you do kind of want to keep an eye on them because, like you said, this has been a long time coming. I'm not sure people would look at this roster and go, this is their year this is their year. This is exactly where they thought they would need to be to get back in this, but they've done it. And again, like we mentioned, they have done it with Alexandre Carrier. We call him the Viscount because he was voted in the offseason most likely to be cast in Bridgerton. It'll be great to have him back. I will say this, we are going to be there. We will be covering the game live. I hate those moments where they do the tribute videos. I really do. The worst one for me was, of course, Matthias Ekholm's. That I just was almost sick to my stomach over that. This one's going to be a little tough too. And if they do not put it to the sound, to the music of 80s hair band Cinderella's song, Don't Know What You Got Till It's Gone, I'm going to just revolt. I'm just going to start singing it loud and proud from our section, Emma, because that's how I feel about Alexandre Carrier. You don't know what you got till it's gone. This is a game at this point with Nashville. Could they win this game? Perhaps. Could they lose this game just as easily? Yes. We are limping to the finish, and I don't know. They keep saying we want to have something to build on. We want to have something to build on. At this point, I think you are out of time to have anything to say that we consistently built on collectively. Maybe individually, we'll see some performances that will be good for players like Luke Evangelista, for players like Fedor Svechkov. We could, no official word, just want to throw it out, we could maybe see maybe the NHL debut of Matthew Wood, who joined the team in Dallas. So something to keep your eye on if you're looking for like, why would I watch this game? A, because Emma and I have to, and we do things as a group. But B, perhaps Matthew Wood will make his NHL debut, Emma.
If you do not watch the game, then you should have to pay a fine that goes directly into Emma's margarita fund for the end of the season. It's like a
100%.
swear jar.
Yes.
Like a swear jar, but instead it's a margarita jar.
I think that's great. I do think there needs to be some sort of a GoFundMe for you and I because we can't afford enough margaritas to make up for the horrors that we have seen. Bless.
The horrors persist.
They do. And it shouldn't have been like this, you all. It should not have been like this season. And we're going to spend an awful lot of time in the off season hawk-topsying this season and saying what went wrong and how are you going to address this in the off season, Barry Trotz, to turn something around. It's been a horror show. It has been a pitcher of margaritas season. Yeah. Good times. But hey, Preds back at it Sunday night. Emma and I, we're going to be there covering the game, which of course means on Monday we will be back. We're going to recap whatever we see Sunday night with our one word to describe the game. We're going to break down the performance by the Nashville Predators. We're going to check in, of course, with Alexandre Carrier as well. Before we log off for this week, Emma, will you let everyone know where they can find you and your work?
You can find me saving up for my season-ending margaritas. You can also find me on social media at Emma_Lingen, and you can find my work at the Hockey News.
You can find me looking for recipes where I can drink alcohol, but it doesn't taste like alcohol. You can find my work with Penalty Box Radio. You can find me on social media at AnnK_Mama on Ice as well. Friends, thanks so much for going along on this ride this week with the Nashville Predators and with Locked On Predators. We appreciate you making us your first listen of the day. We hope you have a fabulous Friday and a great weekend. We'll see you back here Monday.